Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're in Pasadena, which is one of my favorite areas of the county of Los Angeles. And the reason that we're visiting this area is because it just has so many places to actually explore and visit. There's a lot of art, there's a lot of just really older buildings and a lot of old architecture, just because actually Pasadena was one of the original areas that was developed in this area of California, and it's just very historical. There's a lot of music, there's a lot of food, and it's just really, really beautiful and clean. So let's explore. Pasadena is located 11 miles northwest of downtown Los Angeles. It is the most populous city and the primary cultural center of the San Gabriel Valley. With its substantial downtown area, observers consider it as either a suburb of nearby Los Angeles or as a significant urban center in its own right. Behind me we have the Pasadena City Hall, which I really, really love because just look at this building, it's so cool. And as for me as a filmmaker, it's even cooler because they actually allow people to take pictures, to go shoot in there, to do a bunch of filming. And especially living in Los Angeles, you know how hard it is to film in places. And if they're welcoming filmmakers inside and photographers, well, that's a blessing, especially if the building looks as cool as this one. The Pasadena City Hall was completed in 1927 and serves as the central location for city government in the city of Pasadena, California. And it is a significant architectural example of the City Beautiful movement of the 1920s. This building is one of the finest examples of the California Mediterranean style, and definitely the dominant building in the Pasadena Civic Center. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to come to this place, because look at how cool it looks. Me being a European, I love old style buildings, and living in California, you don't see a lot of brick buildings, especially buildings that look kind of old and historical. And this one looks like a palace, and I literally feel like I'm in a cathedral. Look at this. There's an actual fountain. Pasadena City Hall is just so beautiful. And honestly, if you're maybe working here or you're just hanging out here, this is such a pleasant place to go to. You can have some lunch, you can just sit on a bench. And being in California, you don't have that many fountains. And this really looks European-like to me. And it also kind of reminds me of the video game Assassin's Creed, and I'm a gamer. And yeah, if I can actually walk in my favorite video game or one of my favorite video games, I'll welcome it. The City Hall fountain is a Spanish colonial cast stone fountain in the Baroque style and really highlights the Spanish colonial atmosphere of the central courtyard of the Pasadena City Hall. Here's a cool little fact that I learned from the little board right here in the back, is that back in 2003, they retrofitted a bunch of stuff in order to ensure the fact that this building is not going to collapse if there's ever an earthquake. And as you guys might know, well, California has mostly apartments, condos, houses that are all built out of wood. So seeing a structure like the Pasadena City Hall full of brick and basically tiles and almost like built in the style of European buildings is kind of rare. And the fact that they're willing to go through all this in order to make sure that if there's any seismic activity, this building is going to stay and it's not going to collapse is kind of cool to know. Major rehabilitation started in the late 1990s, and in 2004 the building was completely vacated for complete overhaul. The facade was restored, the building was adapted to meet ADA standards, and in order to ensure that it would withstand future earthquake activity, the building was lifted off its foundation and equipped with base isolators and given a new foundation. The total cost of the renovation was $117 million. What did I tell you guys? Benches in the park. This is such a little pleasant area, and if I lived around this area or if I worked around here, I would definitely come here to have my lunches, take in the breeze, enjoy some sun. But I guess I am here right now, so I will enjoy some of the wonderful weather. This is such a pleasant place. Hey, isn't that cool? There's a little ladybug right here. Does that mean I'm gonna have a lot of good luck? I hope so. The City Hall has various stairways leading to upper levels. The east side building is a one-story arcade, but the other three sides of the building are 3 stories high. When you're here, what's really cool is that you do have access to all 3 floors, and there are stairs that will lead you from 1, 2 to 3, and the 3rd floor is actually the top of the building, the highest place that regular people can go to. And I do recommend you going all the way up, because once you are up there, you actually get probably the best view from this City Hall, and you can really see far away, and it just looks so awesome. So I'm gonna go and see what I can see. The building houses 235 rooms and passageways that cover 170,000 square feet. This is another awesome thing about Pasadena City Hall, is that they have all these really cool hallways that look like they're actually in palaces from European castles, and it just looks awesome. And me being a fan of all these musketeer films and night movies and all these things with royal palaces, I just feel blessed to be able to walk in this kind of area and actually even be able to shoot here legally. And this is so amazing. I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm glad to be able to share this with you guys. Next to the City Hall, there's the All Saints Church, which is a beautiful brick building. The building itself was built in 1923, but All Saints was founded in 1886. This is the amazing church right next to the City Hall, and it's so cool. It has all this brick, and here I am in the patio. And actually, again, being a filmmaker, I did film a couple of things in this little patio, and for some reason it's always been, I mean, they've always been cool about it, but right now it's very empty, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to explore it a little bit. But as of now, at least, I was able to look at the outside, and it's just so pretty looking at all these lights and all this brick, and it just feels like I'm back in medieval times. All Saints is an Episcopal church and has a reputation of being one of Southern California's most liberal churches and largest Episcopal churches in the country. In 1980, All Saints was listed on the National Register of Historic Places as a contributing structure to the Pasadena Civic Center district. As you can see, this is one of the hallways that are filled with bricks. Literally, it's not very wide. I can literally touch with both my hands. But what I like about this little hallway, first of all, it feels like you're in your little world, but at the same time, it's also cool because there's a bunch of glass artwork on all of the windows, and it is a church, so yeah, of course they're gonna have glass artwork. But I do like going through this. It almost feels like you're going through a secret little tunnel, and you're gonna, I don't know, maybe come out of it and you're back in medieval times or something like that. But anyways, just being here, I'm happy to explore, and I'm happy to share this place with you guys. The Tiffany windows in the north and south transepts were saved from the original 1889 church and installed with new side panels in the new building. 58 windows throughout the chapel were made of the best English glass obtainable and were rendered in an arts and crafts style reminiscent of the designs of William Morris. I'm no architect, but I must say that whoever designed these little archways in this hallway right in front of the church, well, they did an awesome job, and I really wanted to highlight it just because it is beautiful. In front of the City Hall, there are a couple of beautiful statues which were sculpted in honor of Jackie and Mac Robinson. I always like to highlight some art, and Pasadena has quite a lot of art just in its streets because it is a nice area. And this statue right here of the two Robinson brothers really caught my eye, especially because Jackie Robinson was actually one of the people that actually was able to break the color barriers in the Olympics and was able to compete, and he's the first guy, and they're honoring him through the statue, and I think it's kind of cool to highlight him, and it is a really beautiful statue. A couple of miles away from the Pasadena City Hall, there's a very iconic house that I personally believe everyone going through Pasadena should visit. Here we are in one of my favorite landmarks from Pasadena. It's the Gamble House, which you might recognize from my all-time favorite movie, Back to the Future. Yes, this is the house of Doc Brown. This is actually where Marty McFly walks over here to go meet Doc Brown. And a little bit further, there's actually the little house where what's basically the garage where he's building the DeLorean, and they're gonna build a time machine, and where he's storing it in 1955, and it's just so cool to actually be able to walk here. And it is usually an attraction. It's a museum that people can actually go and visit because it's a historical landmark. So you can actually visit the house in normal times, and now it is pandemic and things are a little bit different. But this is the house, and you can still walk up to it, and it's really exciting. And since I'm a fan, I'm so happy to actually be able to see it live. Designed by the architectural firm Green & Green, constructed in 1908 and 1909 as a home for David B. Gamble of the Procter & Gamble Company, it is today a National Historic Landmark, a California Historical Landmark, and open to the public for tours and events. Since I did say that I'm a Back to the Future fan, I had to walk in the footsteps of Marty McFly, come up this pathway in the hopes of maybe seeing Doc Brown when I knock at the door, but you know, obviously it is a museum, you're able to visit and stuff, so he's not going to answer me, but still I have some hope. I'm here, I'm kind of doing this little touristy thing, and I'm kind of psychologically preparing myself to be Marty McFly, so let's go up the steps and see what happens. The main entrance is beyond the rear facade of the residence. It has patterned brick paving with planting areas, a large pond, and garden walls made with distinctive clinker bricks and boulders. Here's a view of the Gamble house that you don't get very much. Basically, I'm in the back of the house, and as I mentioned, it is a really cool park. You're able to actually walk here, and it's just such a pleasant place with ponds and beautiful gardens, and everything is just so well kept. And if you're ever here in this area, don't think of just Back to the Future. Think of it as just a beautiful architecture, beautiful area of Pasadena, and just a beautiful place that you could just come here, meditate, maybe have a picnic, and it's just so peaceful. So I hope that these images can kind of transcend through this video and kind of show you how great of a place this is. The rooms of the home were built using multiple kinds of woods. Teak, maple, oak, Port Orford cedar, and mahogany surfaces are placed in sequences to bring out contrasts of color, tone, and grain. The woods, the low and horizontal room shapes, and the natural light that filters throughout the art glass exterior windows coexist with a relatively traditional plan in which most rooms are regularly shaped and organized around a central hall. This is something that I really love about Pasadena, is the fact that you can go into pretty much any side street of the residential areas, and the architecture is just so beautiful. And on top of that, well, there's not a lot of people walking here, so you can have a pleasant walk and just get your daily exercise or your daily steps. But at the same time, you can look to your right, to your left, and there's just so much beautiful architecture to look at that it's almost as if you're kind of walking into maybe an outdoor museum of houses in some way, and you can kind of just enjoy the weather because it is California, but at the same time just enjoy the pleasant walk and just the fact that you're in such a safe and beautiful neighborhood. So if you're ever in Pasadena, I just recommend you guys to just at least visit or at least try to check out one of the residential areas. One thing that I did note about these houses is that they really are what director John Hughes often described as a typical middle-class house. I'm not sure what he considered middle class in his movies, but these houses are definitely for wealthy people and very expensive to own. Pasadena is one of the original historical places where people settled down in California and Los Angeles when they moved to Los Angeles. And you can definitely see it in a lot of the architecture. It just has so much history. You can tell that the buildings are older, and people who actually live here do really take care of their land, and it's just pristine. And you know, people often think of Beverly Hills as being the place to go, the place if you're wealthy, the place that all the rich people live. And yeah, undoubtedly in Beverly Hills there are rich people, but personally for myself, if I had a lot of money, I think I would definitely move to Pasadena because the houses are nice, it's less congested, and everything is just so well kept. This is something else that I really love about Pasadena, is the fact that we have the Caltech Institute of Technology that is located, well, as I said, in Pasadena, and it's one really beautiful campus because it just looks so cinematic. And at the same time, the fact that all these buildings are pretty close, or actually more than 100 years old. So just walking here, you can kind of imagine all the scientists who have studied here and all the research that has been done, and it's just a beautiful place. The California Institute of Technology, or Caltech for short, is a private research university in Pasadena, California. The university is known for its strength in science and engineering, and is one among a small group of institutes of technology in the United States which is primarily devoted to the instruction of pure and applied sciences. As you can tell, they even have fountains, and it's just really well decorated, and the architecture is beautiful. And on a really cool note, well, Albert Einstein was actually a professor here from 1931 to 1933, and just the fact that I do like Albert Einstein and the theory of relativity and all that stuff, being able to walk where he walked and see the laboratories where he actually conducted experiments and did research, I think that's kind of cool. One thing that I really appreciate about this campus is the fact that there is really so much nature, including a bunch of little ponds. My favorite one is the turtle pond that houses many turtles that can be seen lounging around it, just enjoying the sun and the pond water. Isn't this so cool? Only in California could I walk through a college campus and then I see a pond full of turtles just chilling, and anybody can walk up to it and there's hundreds and literally hundreds of turtles just chilling at this pond. And since there's a lot of sun, they kind of sunbathe and just chill and enjoy the sun on their face and on their body. This is so cool. Close to the Caltech campus, there's the original commercial center of Pasadena that arose from one of the most prosperous areas of the state and had a latter-day revitalization after a period of decay. Here I am in Old Town Pasadena, which is basically the old district for all the shops, the jazz places, the music places, the dance places, and all the cool places that you would want to go to when you are in Pasadena. And even though we are in a pandemic state, it's still really busy. As you can tell, there's a lot of cars, a lot of people walking around. But yeah, it's a very pleasant place to be at, and definitely if you are in Pasadena, I would definitely recommend to come and visit it. Since we are in a state of pandemic, a lot of the restaurants are forced to have outside dining in order to serve their clients. In order to do that, many of the restaurants put out tents allowing people to eat outside. It's not the most ideal situation as Colorado Boulevard has quite a lot of traffic, but at least it provides an alternative for the restaurants to make some business. Here I am at the Pasadena Playhouse, which is one of my most favorite theaters here in Pasadena, obviously since it's called the Pasadena Playhouse. But yeah, I did want to highlight it because I am into theater and to acting and all that good stuff. And because theaters have been kind of closed because of the whole pandemic, there's not a lot of performances and stuff. But yeah, I did want to highlight it because, well, it is important. And I do think that when things do reopen, I really hope that if you are in the city of Pasadena, that you will actually come and visit it because, well, it's not just a great theater. I mean, after all, I did see performance even with Al Pacino, which was pretty amazing. So they do have top-notch actors here, but at the place of just not just having top-notch actors, they have top-notch plays, and the building in itself is actually pretty historic since it was actually built in 1917, and since we're in 2021, it means that this whole building is over 100 years old. So, well, it must be a great business and a great theater if it has survived for so long. The artistic community that founded Pasadena Playhouse was started in 1916 when actor-director Gilmore Brown began producing a series of plays at the renovated burlesque theater with his troupe. Brown established the Community Playhouse Association of Pasadena in 1917 that would later become the Pasadena Playhouse Association, which necessitated a new venue for productions. Well, okay, that's it. I found a cool little street that has a bunch of lights on the top, so I thought this would be a great place to do my outro video. If you did enjoy coming on this visit of Pasadena, well, please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, maybe leave me a comment too. Let me know what was your favorite area of Pasadena that I visited, and maybe let me know if there's other places here in Pasadena that you'd like me to go visit. I'm more than happy to make a video about it. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.